I was facing a pathetic 35% drop in total compensation. The only way to fight that cliff is to get promoted faster. I was judged by friends and family for taking on a huge risk at a time when people were deeply concerned about the economy and I guess toilet papers. This is my Amazon story. If I sound too optimistic or too critical, just remember I'm just one guy with one story to tell. After almost 4 years, all my Amazon colleagues at LA office, they have moved on to other companies like Snapchat, Google, Apple, you name it. What's so inspiring about switching companies in early 2020? Aside from taking risks, but more about that specific time of that year where all tech stock went to the bottom. Some of you may remember or know the open secrets I'm getting at. Before we jump into the dollar amount, the salary change, you first have to understand my struggle with Amazon's compensation model. Let's be specific. I was facing a pathetic 35% drop in total compensation in 2020. Who's gonna take that? Who's gonna be okay with that? Some basic understanding of Amazon's compensation model. The compensation includes base salary, stock, and bonuses. And here's one tricky area. The company follows a model of compensation buckets. Your next year's projected income will be compared with all other people at your level. The company will attempt to match you up with others' compensations. So it would seem fair for everyone, right? But what if you reached to the peak of your compensation buckets and you're not really getting a promotion this year? You see the problem with that, right? In my personal experience, when I was first hired with a relatively good compensation package, I was already at the peak of my buckets. Except for that 1 year when I got my promotion, my total compensation had never increased significantly. My base salary typically went up by 1% or 2%. And my bonus and refreshed RSU, let's just forget about the peanuts. They almost don't exist. My RSU refresh was the core of the bucket problem. For those who joined Amazon in the good years, say from 2016 to 2020, they suffered the same problem. Year after year, on paper, my total compensation increased with vested stock. So I kept hitting the compensation cap in my buckets. And based on that compensation model, I got no raise or RSU refresh. And let me explain. You were granted 100 RSU shares when you first joined the company. You vested that 100 RSU shares in 4 years. Since there was a very minimum amount of RSU refresh each year, by the end of the 4th year, your projected compensation, and let me remind you, it contains first a base salary, second bonus, and third RSU. But the RSU is almost 0 shares by now in the 5th year. And there you go. You kind of hit the Amazon compensation cliff in the 5th year. The only way to fight that cliff is to get promoted faster. And now, let's review that compensation hack. All tech stocks hit the rock bottom. I joined my current company around that time. Usually RSU is given to you in the money amount, in the value amount. Say, they give you $100 worth of RSU. Before the crash, let's just say it's $100 per share. So you typically get 1 share after the market crash. The stock price, maybe it was at let's say $25 per share. How much do you get? You then get 4 shares as opposed to 1 share now. Obviously, I didn't anticipate the pandemic. I kind of crash landed on this opportunity. I felt like nothing for a while because who knows if the market will fully recover, but it did recover. At this point, you may say it's wrong to chase after money, right? Is that even the right advice? I observed some engineers staying 5 to 6 years in the same company like in Amazon and in the same domain, and their career took off in big ways afterwards, and their total compensation as well. So giving up at that 4-year mark, it's actually debatable if you're optimizing for long-term growth. But I'm going to say something that may seem controversial. When you have multiple paths and it's difficult to decide which path to follow, just pick the hard path. I could still survive the cliff and just chill at Amazon. I can do that. But instead, going back to the coding interviews and kind of suffer that job market searching process, that was the hard path. My philosophy is to waste less time if possible on the stupid debates. Pick the hard path. First, you either succeed, great, or second, you fail, but then you grow through the failure. Chasing after the money is not always ideal, but picking the path to grow is often optimal. I want to end this video on some positive notes. Amazon has changed a lot. My reflection on Amazon's compensation model is a bit negative, but I never regretted my time there. Although that's a place I will never transition back to. Hopefully. It's like you graduated from a tech university and finally started your career somewhere else. You wouldn't quit your current career and go back to the starting point, right? I have a lot of gratitude towards Amazon, but that's for another video.